Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Ichabod Jones' Monster Hunter, the card game. It's for 1 to 4 players, but 3 to 4 is recommended, and adding in a second deck allows for up to 8 players. Games will generally run about 20 to 30 minutes. You and your fellow players have escaped from a mental asylum and have become monster hunters during the apocalypse, with the unwelcome help of the voice in your head. A story about perception turned into a game inspired by the prisoner's dilemma, fast-paced and easy to learn with multiple layers of strategic finesse. In this monster fighting game, based on the hit comic book series Ichabod Jones' Monster Hunter, you're never sure who you're really fighting against. Work together to build up epic attacks, or take a risk and turn against your allies. Are you killing monsters, or is it all in your head? Do you hear that voice? Ichabod Jones' Monster Hunter the card game might seem like a cooperative game, but is it really? Battle monsters cooperatively by playing the right cards. The goal is to have the most victory points at the end of the game. These are awarded for defeating monsters together. Yes, that's right, you are working together. Well, sorta. But how many points you actually get depends on which cards you have in your hand at the end of the game or round. After the game, you write down your victory points, and ideally you'll play another round. Continue until everyone has been the starting player once, or until someone has reached the agreed total number of points. So join me in this journey of darkness. First and foremost, we got to talk about the comic book, because you will follow along with Ichabod as he's called upon to go fight monsters. He's in an insane asylum, like I said, but you're never really sure, is he really fighting monsters or is it all in his head? I like that aspect of the story. It really drew me in. The artwork is amazing in these books, as well as the storytelling. So please do yourself a favor and go check them out. So that brings us to the card game. And again, if you know the story, you know the comic books, this is going to be very familiar to you as you see the different characters and monsters and so forth that you're familiar with. And if you're a fan of the series, it definitely allows you another way to interact with the story. So what's neat here is that you all, again, are going to be trying to gather monsters. And why you're doing that. So you want to have monsters collected and defeated so you can score their point values at the end of the game or round, whatever you're calling it, as you're moving through multiple plays of this. And so as you can imagine, there's several different types of cards. You've got the attack deck, you've got the monster deck, you've got a place for apocalypse cards or that apocalypse deck, and for tracking scoring or where you put your defeated monsters. Also, you've got a deck of cards for tracking damage on the different types of monsters that you're in the middle of battling with. How does the game come to an end? Well, if you ever run out of attack cards and are unable to draw a card when you need to, the game will end and you'll total points. Or if the apocalypse deck ever reaches 5 cards, that will also bring the game to an end. So gameplay here is very straightforward. You're going to have 6 attack cards in your hand, and your choice is to draw from the attack deck or to draw from the apocalypse deck. But you're going to be playing cards and attacking monsters. However, if you don't really have a good play, then you can put a card in the apocalypse deck, remembering that 5 cards there will bring an end to the game. Now, you're going to be playing and attacking monsters, and you'll see here it's a progression. Your attack deck will show how many cards it takes to do damage in the bottom right corner of the card. And at the top of the card, you'll see a number sequence as well as icons, which will be referenced on the reference sheet. But really the more important part here is the fact that they've made it easy for colorblind folks. It's color and icon based, so you know which cards are which as you're playing. So you're going to be going like from 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need to have that progression of cards in order to play on the next available slot. So here we've got a 3, 5, and 7, so that works obviously, 1 and 2, and someone has started a new deck at 4. So again, you're trying to get the cumulative cards playing amongst yourselves to attack and destroy that monster so you can add them to scoring for the end of the game. And the other thing you can do in your turn, and you can do this before playing a card if you so choose, hopefully maybe to free up a spot so you can play a card yourself, because maybe you don't really have a good play in hand. So you take a look at all the decks that are out there. Are there any that can actually cause damage? And all the different suits are going to do varying amounts of damage based on how many cards are there. So in the blue, for 3 cards, you'll do 1 point of damage. For 4 cards, you'll do 2, and for 5 cards, you'll do 5 points of damage. And 5 cards is really the max you'll ever put on any one of these monsters. So you have a choice. Do you want to inflict damage? And you can do that by collecting those cards, inflicting the appropriate damage, and discarding. And then you have a free slot to use more attack cards. But again, you have to be mindful about what monsters have already been defeated. What cards do you want to try to hold on to so you can get maximum points at the end of the game? Now, there's this really terrible icon we need to talk about. Voices in your head. This icon is going to be crushing for you. If you have this icon in your hand when the game ends, well then you're going to not score any points, potentially. However, if you have the most of this icon, you will get 5 points, which 5 points doesn't sound like a lot. It does score you quite a bit of points if you can pull that off. But if you have just 1 or 2 of these icons and someone else has a bunch of them, you're not going to get any score. The voices in your head were just too strong for you to engage. And if you defeat a monster, then you put it into the scoring deck. Now, at the end of the game, there's multiple ways that these cards, these monsters will score for you. They all have different icons, different sets at the bottom showing you what they do. And in the scoring deck already, we have one that just gives straight up 2 victory points. In the next slot, every card that's purple in your hand will get 1 point of victory. And then the other monsters that are out here in the field will give you varying points based on all kinds of different things. I like this one. For a set of 3 red, you're going to get 2 victory points for every set of 3. And then you have a contest of sorts. Whoever is the highest purple gets 2 points. Whoever is the next highest gets 1 point. So all the different ways the monsters can score for you are things that you're going to have to keep in mind as you're moving through the game and defeating them. And also, there are wilds in this deck. These cards will add to the number of cards you need in order to do damage to a monster, but it can never be the last card in the sequence to cause damage. So you'll still have to play another blue on top of that in order to activate the damage you need on this monster. So it's really that simple. You're really just moving through, battling the monsters and so forth, and then collecting points at the end of the round. And again, it's all based on a point total you've come up with, or each player has had a chance to be the first player. And then you're going to total up score, and whoever has the most will be the ultimate monster hunter. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, one of the other things about this game is that there are icons at the top of some of the cards that you can use. Some of them can be used to betray your fellow players, like revenge, causing them to lose points potentially if they have the voice in their head icon. Now, you have chaos, allowing you to draw cards. You've got teamwork, allowing someone to go, or even you to basically take another turn. And of course, you have that voice icon you want to try to avoid, or maybe you're just trying to get as many of those as possible. But ultimately, if you know this world, you know this comic book, this game is going to really appeal to you and suck you into the world. Another way to experience it. And for those who haven't played, the artwork and the quick play, easy to teach, and really a deck of cards you can take anywhere and set up. Really fun and fantastic. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.